everybody. Welcome to another Nova Scribes. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to Joran Oppelt. He is an international speaker, author, consultant with certifications in coaching, storytelling, design thinking, and virtual facilitation. He started his career in 2015 as a consultant at a corporate innovation consultancy specializing in visual solutions and change management. He is a master facilitator who leads game-changing meetings for clients. He's also an executive coach who's helped shape strategies in technology, finance, software, sports, and healthcare. He's also the author of a book I highly recommend, Facilitation, a Human-Centered Guide to the Art of Collaboration. He's got another one out there called Visionary Leadership, How to Live Your Strategy, Change Your Habits, and Inspire Your Team. And finally, the Visual Meetings Field Guide, How to Facilitate Great Meetings with Amazing Teams. Tonight, he is going to give us a master class on Mural. So Joran, let me turn it over to you.
I couldn't have written a better intro myself, Brian. Thank you. It's really an honor to be here with everybody. Thanks, Brian, for having me. And you actually encouraged me to brush off this class, which I taught about a year ago. And it's encouraging to hear a lot of people saying that they've tried Mural before, but then some things have changed or they want to get back into it. So I'm excited to share what I know about it tonight with you all. And yeah, we'll put the titles of the books in the chat later. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen to get started. I'm going to share my browser first. We will be in the Mural together. And but for now, I'm just going to run a little screen share, and after that, I'll go ahead and invite you in here. As a best practice, I want to show the Mural to you first. Let's just back out all the way. This is the Mural that we'll be in tonight. It's a big, tall one instead of a wide one. I usually work wide, and this is a tall one tonight. So we'll be working vertically, which is exciting. As we're going to change it up. Every meeting, every session we begin, every workshop, every class, I always start with the oars. Raise your hand if you are familiar with the oars. And my former clients better raise their hands. There we go. Okay, yes. So lots of people familiar with the oars. It stands for Objective, Agenda, Rules, and Roles. The objective tonight is to deepen our understanding of Mural as a facilitation tool and as a collaborative space. I really want you to be thinking about Mural as a space. And we shouldn't ever have a meeting or a workshop or a training or a class unless we have an objective. If you don't have an objective for the meeting, don't have the meeting. The agenda then is what we're going to do once we're in the room together. We're going to have a welcome. We're going to run through the oars. We're going to cover thinking like an artist. We're going to talk about Mural as a place. We're going to study some use cases. We're going to talk about the basic fundamentals of Mural, a little bit of the basic graphic design concepts that I use in my work. We're going to do a little activity called Fear of a Blank Page. We're going to talk a little bit about how the few limitations of Mural there are, a little bit about meaning making and synthesis, and then close all within 90 minutes. Rules, we've got yes and. I always like to invoke the yes and rule. I don't want to hear no's or yes, but my idea is better than yours, right? Just to kind of be building on what each other's saying, especially when we get out into those breakouts. Be present here, be focused, close that door to your office, close the email tab. Be honest with the group or the cohort you're in about what you're experiencing, and be curious. That's the most important rule. If you get stuck, on something, ask the big question about how you might or we might move forward, even if it comes down to stuckness or resistance internally, right? Intrapersonally, if you're kind of having resistance to something, ask yourself the bigger question: why am I resistant to this? The roles I'll be facilitating. Brian's going to be helping me out. Hopefully, we didn't talk about this, Brian, but hopefully you can help me set up some breakout rooms about halfway through.
No problem.
Okay, cool. And we've got Nancy, Ginger, Laura, Karen, Carol, Paul, Becky, Dawn, Patrick, Bobby, and Casey all as participants and learners today who are excited to deepen their understanding of this tool. So that's the oars. Are you all in the right meeting? Okay, good. We got some thumbs up. The next things I want to review is the Mural toolbox. So there's just 5 real basic principles that I always invoke at the end of, or at the beginning of every session in Mural. One is that anywhere in Mural, and some of you who've already been in this tool, you know, or use similar tools, you know, you click anywhere in Mural, double click on the mural anywhere, you will create a sticky. That is how you do that. You can also drag in a sticky from this little toolbar and do the thing. And then you just double click right inside it and you say, my name is Joran. That's how you create a sticky. That's how you type in it. Always be capturing if we're doing a session or an activity, just like you would have that stack of Post-its and Sharpie in front of you or at the wall. Grab a sticky and put your thought down. These murals become a collective artifact, a group artifact. And I always encourage groups to ensure that nothing is lost, no data is lost. We do that collectively by making sure we capture things. So always be capturing on stickies. Panning around, you know, for me, I'm on a track bar on a Mac. So I'm putting 2 fingers down on my track bar and I'm sliding around. And that allows me to move kind of around the 2-dimensional space. And I always say that instead of making things bigger, for instance, this sticky might be a little hard to read. People have a tendency to go, I can't read that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it bigger so that I can read it. Don't do that. Instead, leave it the size it is and grab your 2 fingers on your trackpad or your scroll wheel on your mouse, whatever you're using to zoom in and out in Mural, and go ahead and zoom in. You can zoom in really close in Mural. So that's a really important principle to remember. Zoom in to where you need to look. It's just like putting your nose against the whiteboard or, you know, getting closer to the wall. Just zoom in. If you are at all lost in the mural at any time, always click on my face. If I'm the one speaking, click on my face at the bottom. I'm the one with the silver border and the silver star, and that will immediately snap you to wherever I am. Remember, Mural is a place, and it's like if I'm on one side of the room talking about something and you got distracted and you were way over here in the Mural logging a question for later or checking out the graphic design stuff and working ahead like a star pupil, you can always say, oh my God, what's Joran talking about? Where is he again? Click on my face and it'll snap you right back to where I was on the Mural. And the final principle to remember is if there are technical issues in Mural, I will say now that Mural works best in Chrome or Firefox. So when I drop that link in the chat here shortly, make sure you open that link in either Chrome or Firefox. It just does not work well in Safari or what's the Microsoft Edge? Is that the Microsoft one? Whatever the Microsoft one is. So Chrome or Firefox are recommended. And if you ever have any technical difficulties with it, if it starts to get laggy, if you created a sticky, but then all of a sudden you can't move it, or you created a sticky, but now you're having trouble typing inside it, refresh your browser. 9 times out of 10, that is going to fix your issues in Mural. It's a browser-based application. That's the way we're going to be using it tonight anyway. So yeah, let's just refresh that browser to get reset. Okay, I'm going to drop the link to the mural in the chat. So what's going to happen now is, for the sake of the recording, I'm going to keep sharing my screen so that for the sake of the recording, we can see where everybody is and the activities we're working on. But what you're going to want to do now is click the link in the chat and open up a browser of your own to join me in Mural. So I'm seeing some of you in there now, which is great. I've got it set to musical settings, so I'm seeing some accordions and records and who else is in here? Let's see. We got some people with their names. That's fantastic. and also some anonymous instruments as well. If you're having trouble joining and opening up to the mural, let us know either in the chat or by unmuting and raising your hand. All right. We're going to move on to the icebreaker. And here's what I'm going to do right now is something called a facilitator superpower in Mural. And then I'm going to summon everybody to where I am. Looks like there's 10 people in the mural, and I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 other than you and I, Brian. So there might still be some people joining. Raise your hand if you're Bobby.
Yeah, I went in and grabbed the link, but it's not letting me in. So let me try again.
Okay. All right. For now, while we're waiting on Bobby, I'm going to summon everybody to this little box labeled number 4 called the icebreaker. And what you're going to do is you are going to do what I showed you on the screen, and that is create a sticky and type your name on it. That's all you need to do. Right inside that box. Oh, you guys are masters already. What are you doing in the master class? You guys are masters already. No problems. No problems. Look at that. Yep. People fighting over real estate. People putting stickies on top of stickies. That's always fun. All right. Bobby, did you get in?
No.
Okay. What happens when you click the link?
I get to the icebreaker. I can see everything. I'm just not able to grab something.
Oh, try refreshing the browser.
Oh, yeah, you just talked about that, didn't you?
We'll see. I mean, I don't know.
Try
What browser are you using?
Well, I think I'm using Chrome, but I am on my work computer, so it might be Edge, but
Okay.
that might be the issue. Okay, it says you are a visitor. You have entered as a visitor because you are not a member of this workspace or Mural.
Yeah, that's fine. Visitor's fine. All right. And Casey, looks like Casey's going to work offline with you in the chat with you. Or maybe even in a breakout if you're still experiencing issues.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you're seeing that visitor sign, that's a good sign. That's usually where you put your name in and it'll let you right in. Thanks, Casey. All right. So it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stickies. Looks like Ginger's creating one now. Okay. Anybody else having any trouble?
Karen, how you doing?
Yep, Karen's got her sticky on there. Looks good. Carol. Yep, she's on there. Okay, looks like everybody's on. Alona's on. Yep. So Bobby, I'm just going to press ahead.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And so my next question after that icebreaker is, why did we just do that? Anybody have an idea?
To get everybody comfortable in the mural.
Yeah. Getting comfortable, confident. What else? What did we surface immediately?
Technical problems.
The technical problems. That's right. We got it out of the way right out of the gate. Yeah. And hopefully Bobby will be able to keep up with us. Actually, Bobby, are you still struggling to get in or are you in? Brian, can you put Casey and Bobby in a breakout real quick? Okay, thanks. Yeah, got to surface those issues right away. Any other reasons why we might do an icebreaker like that?
Well, so Joran, just to be clear, why isn't it a good idea just to, like, as soon as people get in the mural, say, all right, what are your top 10 strategic initiatives that are going to guarantee your success for the next 5 years?
Oh, like what? Going right into like brainstorming or commitment? Is that what you mean?
Why wouldn't you just jump into the work?
Yeah. So you skip all the orientation to the tool, the foundational principles, you skip the trust building, the laughing, the jokes, the storytelling. Also the names, like we've never met each other. So now I'm seeing, I didn't only hear the names during the check-in, but now I'm seeing, oh, it's Iwona, right? It's Paul McKender, right? I'm seeing people's names on stickies and getting a little more familiar, raising that level of empathy with the people in the room. Yeah. Yeah, everyone's in and everyone's active. All right. So the next thing, now that everybody's in and we've warmed up properly, I'm going to bring everybody up to the top of the mural. There was a method to the madness of beginning in the center of the mural. Trust me, you'll find out later. And now we're going to move to the top. So the first section here is to think like an artist. This is what I want to talk about. The difference between design thinking and visual thinking, just briefly. Design thinking, as some of you may know, is a process. It's a specific framework. I've given an example of it here. It's this double diamond version of design thinking. It gets you to a problem statement and then to prototyping of solutions. But just at the bird's eye view is that it gets you thinking like an artist in iterations, right? In versions and prototypes and in testing. Design thinking is a very specific tool. Visual thinking is an attitude. It's an approach. It's a muscle. It's an instinct that you have. So, and really, when you're talking about visual thinking, you're not thinking like an artist, you're behaving like an artist. If somebody says, hey, let me draw you a picture of my idea, and they draw something on the wall or on a piece of paper, your instinct could be to say, oh, that's amazing. Let me add to it with my ideas. And that's what we mean by visual thinking. If you're working with canvases or whiteboards or virtual whiteboards like Mural, visual thinking is literally what you're doing. And there are three real advantages to visual thinking in groups. If you can follow me over here to the right. And this comes from the book Visual Meetings by David Sibbitt. The number one advantage is participation. You're going to see higher engagement. You're going to see people standing at the wall with their Sharpie and contributing their ideas. There's no back row in group collaboration. You can't kind of lose yourself in the crowd. And if you do see people at the edges, you can encourage them or ask the golden facilitator question, who haven't we heard from yet, right? But when you're thinking visually, when you're acting in groups, doing visual thinking, that engagement is higher. And you're getting that group itself to think smarter, think in big picture thinking, right? Take that 30,000 foot view if you're talking about the elevation map and get them on the same page together, thinking strategically and tactically together. And then my favorite is retention, group memory. You're going to have a mural at the end of the day with all your stickies on it. You're going to have a canvas on the wall with all your scribbles on it. You're going to take a photo of that. You're going to scan it in or whatever you're going to do. But there's an actual asset from the work that you created together. Instead of a report or a transcription and that gets 3-hole punched and stuck in somebody's drawer, right? This visual graphics are a real good way to enforce group memory. So the 3 advantages to thinking visually. Next up, I want to move down here to the idea of mural as a place. When I first discovered mural, and I say I was exposed to mural when pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, back when it was called mural.ly. And I think it was called something before that. Like it was actually a different brand before that, but I don't remember that. But I do remember it was Murally, and it was in our tech stack with beautiful AI for presentations and Proposify for proposals. It was just a thing we had access to. And I always remember thinking, like, why do we have this mural thing? Like, what are we ever going to do with that? What good is it even for? Like, we don't do stuff in there. Well, then COVID hit, and we needed to translate everything we did in rooms to a virtual and remote environment using Zoom. And so while the whole world was renewing their Zoom subscription and Zoom subscriptions were going through the roof, I was tripling down in Mural and kind of becoming a bit of a savant with this specific tool, because I saw that this is going to be the way that all of the stuff that we did in person is going to be able to be translated to a group of, whether it's 5 people or 500 people, this is the way we're going to pull this off. So I kind of got under the hood and I joined their consultants program and you know, partnered with them in some different ways and got to be a little bit of an expert in mural. And what I realized right out of the gate was when I opened up my first mural to create something, because, you know, I can zoom all the way out here and you can see all this cool stuff on my mural, but that's not how this mural began. This mural began as a white screen, you know? So I needed to open up basically like a blank piece of paper and create something from it. And I had this bodily flashback to when I was 9 years old with a stack of legal paper on my dining room table and magic markers. And I would create board games with like little pieces, and I would create little like chutes and ladder style board games. And then I would like convince my family members to play my made up game with me. But that's exactly what the feeling was like creating a mural from scratch. It wasn't just a flat two-dimensional thing that I was making. It was a space for people to be in. It was immediately the substitute for a room for us to gather in. And I realized that it wasn't just to present information to people. It was to collaborate and really increase that level of engagement and play, that level of play, you know. So this is an example of something that we did years ago, which was a wilderness retreat. And we started in the clearing, you know, it was a whole camping call to adventure theme, you know, and we asked, what is your wolf? What's the scary obstacle? What's the mosquito, that annoying interruption? What's the Bigfoot, that kind of unseen, you know, mythical uncertainty that you're scared of? We did an activity around a labyrinth. We told stories around the campfire. We pulled up a stool and told stories together. We went down to the river and talked about landscape and context and the future vision and how we're going to succeed. And we used these visuals to get through this retreat together in some really fun and interesting ways. This is one of my earliest mural builds. And then this is a really great, this is a work of Benjamin DeHaan. This one when we were working together at Mural. And this is just a fun kind of adventure through the Alps, where he's got you literally starting out here on the little tram, and it says, take a skier and bring him down through the slalom race. And so we're moving the skier down through the flags and then down to the next activity, where again, you gather at the base camp and then you take a seat at the lodge. And so this idea of using mural as space and place is always something that I'm keeping in the back of my mind when I'm designing in mural. And this third example here is from Dave Gray. This was a hand-drawn illustration that he was going to use as for breakouts in mural. And for people to, you know, split up into the different numbered rooms. This is around Halloween time. So of course you can fly in hand-drawn illustrations, you know, to kind of complement the other frameworks and elements in your mural as well. So always be thinking about mural as a place to be. You know, the other thing that I want you to keep in mind is that if you have questions come up, I would love for you to, let's see, where is it? Right down here. I'm going to summon everybody down here. There's a spot right in the middle of the mural that says questions so far. If you have questions, throw them there. And then at the midway point, we're going to take those questions at that point. A couple of use cases here, and feel free to zoom in. And I just saw Ginger saying if the zooming in and out is disorienting, yeah, feel free to just click anywhere on the mural and, you know, break free from me kind of driving the bus, and you can zoom in and out to where you're seeing my cursor, but not necessarily me zooming in and out for you. And then if you think I've moved past where you are, then you can always just click on my face and follow me again. So some of these under number 2, these use cases, I'm just going to zoom in tight and show you. This is just something that, you know, I built for my coaching clients to work on their content strategy. If they needed ideas to post on LinkedIn, you know, this is something that they could take pick a theme and play this little wheel game and say, okay, well, it's going to be, what's the problem I want to post about, or what's the testimonial I want to share, or maybe I could post a poll this week, or maybe there's some kind of prediction I could make in my industry, basically to generate LinkedIn content. There's a little template here that I built for them. I've built my resume in Mural. We've done vision boarding workshops. You can see these at the top. Fun graphics that, represent your vision, your personal vision for the year. This facilitator scorecard, which is connected to the latest book that we published, is all around self-assessment on facilitation. I love horror movies, so I used developed an annual retrospective around the movie Midsummer. So this was a fun thing to do, and I always wanted to reskin this for what's it called? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Was that the one that was winning all the awards recently? Because it had they had the hot dog fingers and the googly eyes, and there was so many cool visual things from that movie that could be used for something like this. So you could totally do a theme, an entire board or session around a movie or an album or whatever you wanted. Here's a fun check-in I did at a leadership retreat, and that was based around the theme of a bridge. Bridge was in their name, and so we went with the bridge theme, and we went with the Billy Goats, the 3 Billy Goats kind of idea. And so there's this troll, there's a goat. We took stuff from their survey results and put them on the stones and planks that made the bridge, and we asked them to drag their avatar, which I typically will do this. I'll go on LinkedIn before the session and I'll grab their photo, and then I'll put their name on it, and I'll group those things together. So they've got a little avatar with their face and their name that you can just copy and paste anywhere you need it. And then they've got a little avatar they can move around for these activities. So we asked them to place their avatar, where they felt they were. So some of them felt underwater. Some of them felt halfway across the bridge. Some of them felt like they were hanging out with the troll, right? There were all kinds of places they could put their avatar. And that's a fun visual check-in involving illustrations. And yeah, other story brand workshops and business roadmaps and a disc workshop, which I love doing those, but those are fun because you get people split up by style, leadership style or communication style, and building their own mantras and sigils, and have do's and don'ts about how to communicate with each other. And then that's a really great example of when we're in a room together, when we're in person, these groups are literally in the 4 corners of the room. But in Mural, they have entire sections of the mural that they can go hang out in and play in. Here's another one of vision and values workshop I did, and the painstaking work of taking all their survey results and putting them on yellow stickies so that we could review the survey results and talk about themes and clusters. And yeah, this is a great, that was a fun one. So there's some use cases. You can also look at my at the Illustrious website and see we have a bundle of mural templates available. I think there's about 10 or 12 of them, and you can see some of the other murals that we've built over time. All right. Again, be sure to log your questions. And I'm just going to do a quick time check here. Okay. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the basics of Mural. This is something Brian and I did before the call tonight. And if you see these little blocks to the left of the numbered lists, I'm going to summon everybody here because I'm referencing something very specific. These over here, I'm going to hold the H button down, which turns my cursor into a little laser pointer. These boxes are hyperlinks. So if you double click on any of these areas, that'll open up the blog post that I've linked to here. There's one about the first 30 minutes, and that is something that Brian and I did tonight. We got on the call early. I made sure I could share my screen. I made sure the oars were ready to go. We established a back channel. Brian made me the co-host. You know, if there's sometimes people will use Slack or the Zoom chat or text messages. Sometimes it's just easier if you're looking at your clock or a timer to just use an SMS back channel. But that's really great for facilitators to, you know, especially with a client, if you're working with a client, to hear like, hey, Dave's not, you know, feeling this, or, you know, our CFO is kind of having a hard time with this concept and we really need to, you know, he's the influencer and we really need him on board. So having a facilitator back channel with the client or your contact is really important. Yeah, Dawn, WhatsApp is another one. Yeah. And you set up your screen and your music sharing. Another best practice is if you're playing music in Zoom to have that source volume down at around 10 or 20%. That allows the ambient volume or the volume through the speakers or the headphones to be not so loud and competing with voices. So if you're playing YouTube or iTunes or whatever, just pull that fader down to like 10 or 20%. And that's the kind of the sweet spot for sharing music. And the compressor in Zoom is a hell of a, it really works hard. So like, if you have it down quiet, you might think you have it down quiet, but there's an audio compressor in Zoom that will make it louder because it thinks it's background noise, so it's going to jack it up. So you really have to force your music down lower than you really think you should to around that spot. You always test those virtual cameras, make sure that if you have a graphic recorder in the room, that they're, you know, showing what they need to be showing. Brian knows all about that because he's got, what are you up to now? 5 cameras in your office space there?
Yeah, I got a few.
Yeah. Yeah, so test all of that stuff beforehand. And then here is where we started. Have your ORs, your objective, agenda, rules, and roles. Your objective is why you're here. The agenda is what you're going to do. The rules are how you're going to get there. And the roles are, you know, who's going to help you do it. If you don't have those 4 elements right out of the gate in any meeting, you might struggle. You might hit some hiccups. Even with the ORs, you might hit some hiccups. And then it's the toolbox. Cover those basic principles, the stickies, panning, zooming, lost, issues, just like I did at the top of the call. Just have some basic principles in place for the tools and then do an icebreaker. So that kind of brings us back to where we started. The first 30 minutes of every session in Mural. Some other best practices here. I like to sometimes grab this arrow and then say, yeah, I'm here at number 1 on the list. It says grab an arrow. Now we're moving on to number 2, right? A big bold arrow is hard to ignore. So if I'm talking about this element down here, you can see exactly what I'm talking about just by dragging that around. And then the other option I showed you earlier, hold down the H button, and that turns it into a laser pointer. Now you won't be able to do that in Mural because you're not the facilitator of the board. But that's a nice little facilitator superpower. Yes, hard to ignore the big, bold, blazing red arrow. Recording and broadcasting, like we're doing now, always leave it up for the sake of the recording, and then encourage people to be in the Mural separately in their own browser. The summoning and the asking to be followed, that's something that I've done already with you all. I put this little escape button here because sometimes in Zoom people have it set to when you share your screen, all of a sudden boom, it pops up full screen, and they're like, I don't know, I'm trying to click on the Mural but I'm not clicking on the Mural, but they're actually trying to click on Zoom, right? So just encourage everybody to hit the escape key and back out of full screen and make sure that they're in their browser and not Mural. Let's see, I'm going to actually release everybody and demonstrate another option, which is asking to be followed. So other than summoning you and forcing your attention, I'm going to ask to be followed. And now you'll get a prompt on your screen that says, Joran's asking to be followed. Would you like to do this? This is the kindler, gentler way of bringing you along to where I am. So now 3 people are following me, 4 people are following me. Yeah, I'm down here at the questions part. So this, I put, you know, it's like training a puppy, right? It's just, you want to Do you want to snap that leash and like summon them to where you are? Or do you want to say, hey guys, come over here? You want to treat them, you know? So it's up to you what approach you take, and both are appropriate. The facilitator here, let's see, what's the, why do I have that there? Oh, I know why. Because it's celebrating. We're celebrating. Another thing you can do in Mural is throw this confetti, which is a really fun way to celebrate and kind of jack up the dopamine in the room. If you need a little emotional high, or if everybody did a really good job on that icebreaker, you can always throw the confetti. There is the risk of over confettiing, I have found, so use it wisely. And then the buzzing of the flies. So I'm going to ask everybody to kind of follow me over here. Yeah, everybody. And the third option is click on my face. So if everybody would click on my face at the bottom of the screen, follow me to where I am right now. Okay, so that's 9, 10. Okay, great. So you're where I'm at. Now, buzz your cursors over this screen here, over this drawing. Look at that. Oh my God, there's like 10 of us in here and it's kind of distracting, right? That can be distracting if there's 500 people in a mural, right? So one of the options is hide non-facilitator cursors for everyone. Now try it again. And you bring your cursor over the drawing and you don't see them anymore. So if you want that buzzing flies effect, you can just leave the cursors on. If you want to hide them, you can hide them. There is an advantage to leaving them on sometimes around consensus or gradients of agreement exercises. You might just say, you know, we've got 4 stickies here or 4 dots on the line. Everybody just float their cursor around the option they vote for. And everybody will put their cursor above it and move it around a little bit. And then you'll see literally visually a cloud of cursors kind of voting with their feet around the popular option. So that's just a quick way to get some consensus in. All right. So I'm going to take a little, some deep breaths here as I'm breaking and see what questions we have. All right, it says why vertical and not horizontal layout this time? And how did you get those cool colored stickies? Okay. And anybody else, if you have a question, jot it down on one of these stickies. I'll take the first one first. I had 2 murals that were a little bit taller in nature. And as opposed to putting them next to each other, because this was a 2-part course, instead of putting them next to each other and having it be like, you know, down one, like a 2-column format, down 1 column, and then to the top of column 2, I just decided to make it tall and make it just one continuous flow. But I do typically work wide. I do typically work horizontally. And that's just a preference. That's just, I don't know, the left to right reader in me that wants to move left to right. How did I get these cool colored stickies? Man, I mean, I've got my illustrious gold and carbon colors loaded in my palette. I've worked with so many clients, you know, like, I mean, just Pat and Bobby, who's been like, okay, here's our style guide and we need the mural to be these brand colors. And so just over 8 years of, you know, working with clients, it's like I have their brand colors in my palette. So I've got a lot of different colors in my color palette. But they're fun to build and play with different colors. How do you know whether to look at Zoom or Mural? Oh, that's a good question. Actually, let me do this. Let me stop sharing while we're doing the questions so we can kind of look at each other and not feel like we have to be looking at the mural the whole time. How do you know whether to look at Zoom or Mural? I'd say if you're working in Mural, be looking at the mural. I've got 2 monitors, so I've got Zoom on one and Mural on the other. So for me, it's just a matter of turning my head. You might also kind of change the shape of your Zoom app to be taller and skinnier, and then just kind of make it like a sidebar to the right and make your Mural browser a little more square and have both of them on screen at the same time. So you can look at both at the same time. but that's always a personal preference. Let's see. Do you find people are disoriented by the Zoom and the slide? Sometimes, yeah. And I mean, it's going to be difficult to, just because of the neurodivergence and the learning diversity in every group, there's going to be some people who are, yeah, I mean, just disoriented by the fact that I'm talking too fast, or yeah, disoriented by the fact that we're zooming in and out. I mean, it just could be anything. So I find people are sometimes disoriented by things I'm very surprised by. But yes, I do absolutely find that. That's why I always encourage them to break away, and they don't have to always be following me. They can go to the corners of the mural and explore separately if they need, or just listen, bring Zoom to the front and look at the faces instead. Take a rest for your eyes and just listen for a while. That's always appropriate too. Do you prefer the infinite board when setting up for the first time? I have to admit, I wasn't a fan of the infinite board when they launched it. I have come to love it and appreciate it. I do think in boxes because I am like a graphic designer. So it's like I'm thinking in what's the area of this thing that I'm doing. I sketch murals first in my journal before I design them. So I already have a shape and a design in mind. But when that mural, then you start pushing pixels around and you're like, oh my God, this isn't a rectangle, it's a square. That infinite board does come in handy, that you're able to, kind of adjust on the fly. I will say for me, I may start an infinite and just use it as a canvas and then switch it to scalable and then bring the edges in around where I landed, just to kind of, it's like trimming the edge of the paper, and then it says, what's this one? How do you set or see all the options for all the slides to get to a certain spot? For instance, this questions so far, without searching all over the place, is there a spot that shows, all the individual segments? Yes, that thing is called the outline. And I don't use the outline a lot. If, when Bobby and I were using Mural, we needed to use the outline. We were using Mural as a presentation tool. And there were like 20 or so sections of the mural that we needed to show the client and walk them through in a very specific order. So we needed to use the outline. We needed to be able to click on the outline and snap the screen to the next thing. And that worked well for that. I really, with the outline and the frameworks and the templates that are pre-packaged in Mural, I don't use those at all. I hate the areas. I hate those things because they absorb other elements, and I've had issues with those. Then if I try to put something on top of it, it gets swallowed up behind it and I can't bring it to the front again. So instead of using areas, I just use boxes. It's like, I feel like I'm driving Mural like a stick shift and not on automatic, like I don't like all the fancy stuff. I like to just get under the hood and customize everything. So that's kind of where I come from. But if you just need, a 3x3 grid, by all means, grab it, from the, what is this, tables and areas section, and just drag that in. You don't have to put 9 boxes down. I'm going to put 9 boxes down, but that's a design choice. Let's see. How often do you use Mural as a presentation instead of PowerPoint, and how has it been received? Not very often. I will say probably only, I don't know, maybe 5% of the time. Bobby's ask was a custom build. It needed to be visual, it needed to be dynamic, we needed to take the presentation to the next level. We were on screen with a mural, somebody standing in front of the screen pointing at the mural, and then we were driving the mural and panning as we went. It couldn't be another boring PowerPoint presentation. So as a presentation option, it's available, but there's something to be said about just having 3 really powerful slides and somebody telling a really compelling story too, which, I would lean that way, right? If you can have fewer slides, the better. I think that's all the questions.
Can I just point out one thing?
Yeah, Dawn.
So when I've had a co-facilitator and I have them doing something else in the mural while we're moving on to something else in the mural, if I summon everybody, you summon your co-facilitator too. So it
Mm-hmm.
kind of gets them off of what they're supposed to be focusing on. So just a little warning out there, depending
Yes.
on what you're doing. So
Yeah, that can be frustrating. I mean, and that's just you work if you're working with the same co-facilitator in tandem a lot, you can have those cues, you know, and they just know to break away and do that. The other thing is, what was it? I think thing with the releasing. I seem to remember us having that problem regularly, and me figuring out a way to release that person, but I'm not remembering it now. But yeah, that is an issue.
something to suggest to Mural, I suspect.
Yeah, summon everybody except would be
Yeah.
a really great option. Yeah. Okay, so moving down here to graphic design. So yeah, I'm a graphic designer. I mean, it's what I did for many years, just kind of out of college. So there's this kind of background that I have and this kind of visual vocabulary and visual sense that I bring to this. And it's, yeah, I want to share a little bit about what those basic principles are, what that kind of like design operating system is that's kind of running in my head all the time. One of them is composition. And you can see this example of the mural. This is what one of the murals used to look like. And you can see this sense of like vertical symmetry to it, where there's this density in the center, and then at the above and below that, you kind of have a series of boxes left to right, and then above and below that, you've got the introduction of some gold elements, and then above and below that, you've got some things that are more hand-drawn elements, black and white illustrations, and then above and below that, it's this loose space that just kind of is open for people to kind of brainstorm in. So with the design of this, there was a vertical symmetry kind of with the composition. And, you know, in general, it's helpful to have, oh, let me share the screen again. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Now remember, stay in the browser with me, even though I'm sharing the screen for the recording. All right, so this section here, you know, it's like you would have a brand guide or a style guide that tells you what your fonts are, what your colors are, how to treat a logo, how close other elements should be to any kind of branding asset or logo, right? I encourage everyone to think about their murals in that same way, right? Treat your visual elements, your graphic elements, the same way every time. If you have something that's going to be a large graphic element, like that's going to show up in headers, then that large graphic element, every time it appears, or every time a large element appears, they should be the same size. Mediums should be the same size. Smalls should be the same size, like icons, right? For your numbering, you have lists like this over here. I've got this gray number 1. Let me grab my laser pointer. This gray number 1. If there's 1s and 2s and 3s that are numbering headers, they should all be that same size. And then for other bulleted lists, if you've got like your gold circled lists, then those should all be the same size. But think about the hierarchy that you're creating as well. In the mural, so that if somebody zooms out all the way, they can see like, oh, there's kind of 3 major sections here based on the fact that I can see 3 headers, right? 3 big words. That means there's 3 sections. So think of your hierarchy in sense of title, header, subheader, body, list, things like that. And then, yeah, throw them all in a little square and like, do they all look together, good together? You know, are the colors kind of vibing together? You know, think about your palette. Think about sizing, composition, hierarchy, emphasis, things like that. And then, yeah, as far as the tool itself, then this thing here, this visual tool on the side, the little images icon, which looks like a little vista, like a little tree mountain postcard thing. That's a really great tool to bring in images. They come from Google Images or Giphy or Unsplash or all kinds of like stock images. Not all of them are transparent. So you can see, like I've typed in bread transparent. So to be able to find one with a transparent background, because the killer white box, you know, shows up when you're trying to make things look cool and seamless, and it can ruin your day. So I always include the word transparent in my search so that I can do things like this over here with this fun pat of butter. So I've got a piece of toast, and then I searched for butter pat transparent, and I can now drop a little pat of butter on top of my toast, right? So you can build kind of three-dimensionally with your imagery by bringing to front and sending things to the back. And then the other thing that I like to point out is, and I sometimes do in the murals, is the dramatic reveal. Some sections of the mural should be hidden. You don't want the group to see it yet. There's a certain time we're going to work on that, but it's not right now. And if people go off to the corners of the mural and explore, you don't want any spoilers up ahead if they see it, right? So there can be a time and a place to hide sections of the mural, and you can do that in one of two ways. One is literally covering it up and locking it down. So then you just move it out of the way when the time is right. And there it is, we reveal the thing, right? Or it could be just be a colored box that you delete, revealing an entire section of the mural. That could be fine too. The other way to do that, I'm gonna cover up my treasure again. The other way to do that is to have it be on the aforementioned outline. So you would add this section to your outline as indicated right here. I have a section on my outline called Reveal. And when I open up my outline on the right-hand side of the browser, I see a little box called Reveal. And then there's a little eyeball. And if I click on the eyeball and graze it out, and there's a line through it, that means people can't see it. But if I click on the eyeball again, removing the line and revealing, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for the big reveal? This is Laura's ready. She's excited. Nancy's clapping. Everybody's ready. Okay, are you ready? Drum roll. We're revealing this section of the mural. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. There it is. That's the dramatic reveal that I'm looking for. Yeah. So 2 ways to do that, right? Cover it up or use it. Paul says it was worth the wait. You bet it was worth the wait. That's 2 ways you can use that big reveal functionality. Karen says, I'd like to better understand the thought process for using outline versus not using it. I think I just like, I feel like it's training wheels in some way, and I don't like to be beholden to the outline. Though it is helpful, I'll show you. I have the outline. Let's see, let me bring it up. I did make the ORs part of the outline. So if you've got like a toolbox or a set of resources that you're going to be referencing over and over and over again, you want people to be able to have access to that, I'm going to go ahead and click the ORs on the outline, and then boom, here we are right back to the ORs again. Right. So if you've got a section of the mural that you're going to be in a lot, sometimes in trainings, we have a sandbox where it's like everybody put their ideas in the sandbox, or put their best practices in the sandbox. You know, put that sandbox on the outline, you know. So yeah, I encourage people to use it if they need to. Bye, Dawn. It was really good to see you again. And let's see. We've got, yeah, I think that's it. Let's do an activity. So we're going to go ahead and get into breakouts here, Brian. Let's see, how many people do we have with us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let's see. What do you think? Like 3 groups?
Yeah, 3 groups. Let's see. That's about 4 per room.
2 of 4 and 1 of 3. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do that. So
Okay.
3 groups.
Let me
And
fix this real quick. I'm gonna move Carol's otter to the right one.
oh, okay.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, I think I counted that. So yeah, either way. Yeah, 3 groups is good. What we're going to do is we are going to actually put you into breakouts. You are all going to build a mural in your group of 3 or 4. So there's going to be, let's see, 4 is what? You're leading next week's meeting. How might you keep it on topic? Um, okay. Since there's only 3 groups, I want to eliminate one of these options. And I want to say, well, I don't know. There's enough of these boxes. Let's just let the groups figure it out.
Okay.
You guys can choose your own activity, but you do have 4 options to choose from. So when you get into your breakouts, usually it's like what number group you are is the number box and corresponding. But we're just going to do a little bit of a free for all, and you guys race to the box your group wants to do because there's two of each. So there should be plenty to go around. But you'll have 4 options to choose from. 1, you build a little mini mural demonstrating how to make toast. And that's kind of a classic exercise. You do that sometimes just with flip charts and markers. How do you make toast, right? And you're going to have access to shapes and connectors and all of the things in the little taskbar on the left of your browser, the little llama, which is the icons, the shapes and connectors, and the images, which are the images from the web. You've got all kinds of stuff to choose from, the text boxes, the stickies, all of the things. So you'll have 10 minutes to just play with your tools and do a little mural on how to make toast. And the second option is use a storyboard to describe how 3 people overcome a challenge. Option 3, decide on your 3 favorite foods and design a way to rank them and explain why. Then number 4 is you're leading next week's meeting. How might you keep it on topic and on schedule? So you're going to collaborate with your group, spend a couple minutes just deciding which of these options you want to do. Go ahead and grab, one of these boxes and maybe just like put your name on it and say claimed or something, just so that you know that box is claimed. And then you'll have 10 minutes to just play in this white box, creating your activity, your little mini mural together. And I'll put 10 minutes on the timer, and then we'll summon you back when you're done playing, and we'll talk a little bit about how that went. Are there questions about this activity before we open the doors and send everybody to their breakouts? Casey's excited. Look at that. He says mini mural time. That's the hashtag mini mural time. That's the new bumper sticker. Anybody have questions? MMT, baby. Okay. Brian, let's send them off. And I'm going to put 10 minutes on the clock.
Okay.
You
Here we
guys
go.
have fun. Oh my God. This is fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is cool. All right. So, yeah, thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it. So we're gonna just want to put a minute on the clock for each team to just kind of present their box. So group 1, who is in group 1? Who wants to present? Brian's got his finger on his nose. He's saying not it. So somebody else must present for group 1. Oh, Laura, you're muted, but I think you're.
Oh, ooh la la. We decided instead of going the traditional route, dry toast, we went French toast.
Love it.
So we started, and there you have it, how to make it. And besides, it was a lot of fun making it.
So tell me a little bit, you still got 50 seconds left. So tell me a little bit about like how it was to pull the icons in. I see some connectors. It's like a flow chart. Tell me a little bit about the process you guys used.
The process we used was we had fits and starts, and Brian and Casey and Pat jump in anytime. I'm out here on a limb. I don't want to cut it off. And so we thought we would just, how do you make it step by step? But we had a little bit in the animation. And so you should be able to make French toast from this. And also Brian played around with GIFs, and so that's why we have the dinosaur helping us out there. And I don't know where the little girl came whose eyeballs are about to pop out of her head, but she seems to be enjoying it. And somebody remembered you had to clean up, or somebody was going to be pretty pissed off in that family.
Oh, that's true. Time's up. Perfect timing. Thank you, Laura. And I don't know what's scarier, the T-Rex or that little girl's facial expression. So yeah, great job
Little
on
girl.
that one. Let's move to number 2, group 2. Who wants to present for you guys? Who was in group 2? It was Bobby, Karen, and Paul,
Hi.
right?
Yeah, hi. I'll lay it out. I forgot I was
All right.
muted.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. So we took a minute to get started, but ultimately we didn't get too intricate with the plot or the specificity of the challenge. It was just 3 people not seeing eye to eye, and we reached in and grabbed some basic icons to demonstrate that, and used the lines to like just kind of draw a simple like disagreement, and then people finding some common ground, and then then they're all on the same wavelength there at the end. It was just like you suggested, getting some icons in, like creating some boxes to create boards for storyboards, and then just experimenting with some icons we just drag in real quick in a matter of minutes. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I love how you use the line, like you use the same icon, the eyeball icon.
Oh yeah,
And
I didn't know how to make it thicker, but yeah, I figured it'd work well enough.
and then just drew a line through it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, just using the visual tools at hand to communicate lack of vision, right? Or lack of being able to
Yeah.
see. Perfect. All right, great job on that one. All right, group 3. I loved watching this one. This just was like constantly in motion. So who's going to tell me about what happened here with group 3?
I can.
Okay, thanks, Carol.
We started by grabbing both of the boxes and then having to choose which one we were actually grabbing. So I had put our team names up here, and then when we started doing the brainstorm, we wanted to know whose was whose. So we color coded our sticky notes, and we all did a little brainstorm of what our favorite foods are. And then we had an interesting, like, what the ranking would be. I thought this was interesting that I immediately went to a thought of like voting to like what was the most popular, because we didn't have any overlap. But then we were like, let's rank it by some other criteria. So we did that one, comfort to healthy, and then created the line and just organized things and debated whether chocolate and coffee, how healthy they are. So and I say they are. I would have moved him over further that way.
Yeah, so it was less ranking and more kind of linear scale, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't decide on you didn't come to consensus on which one was best,
No.
but you did
think
identify
if
a scale.
we did identify a scale. I'm guessing that if we had had more things in common, that we might have been able to, we would have gone that direction. But since we had almost no overlap, we didn't. So how did you do that little ding dong thing?
Oh, that was the timer going off. Yeah.
Is that in Mural?
That's in Mural. Yeah. And I, as a facilitator, have a little clock at the top, and I can set the timer. And then when it expires, it goes ding. Sounds like
okay. I've never used that. That's cool.
Seat upright airplane thing.
I love the being able to give some people some indication on their report out.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's usually good. You know, sometimes people need 3 if it's like a whole story pitch or something. But here, look at that. You guys all did so amazing that I'm going to throw confetti for everybody. Great job. That's the proper use of confetti. And we're going to then move down here to the next section because we only have 5 minutes left. Real quick, the limitations of Mural. One, they're not yet 508 compliant. That means it's it's a screen reader that's like accepted by the government, like it's got to be 508 compliant. It's not there yet. So all of the stickies and text boxes, and the screen readers aren't quite there yet with all the elements in Mural. But I've never run up against any, I don't know, Brian, you work with government clients more than I do. Have you ever run into any issues with that?
I have.
You have, Laura.
I cannot use it with a lot of my clients who are federal, and I'm not in DOD. So Brian, you may have a different take on it, and Mural has been yammering about implementing 508 compliance for a couple years. And
yeah.
I mean, it's like, right, stop talking, start doing.
Right.
So my way around that is that I don't want to be the security police on behalf of Mural. What I do is I just point them out to my clients to this site, which is mural.co/trust. And I say, you can take a look at this and all their certifications and things, and you can figure it out. Laura, I will tell you, there is a competitor of Mural's out there that's called Envision Freehand, which is available on some of the government sites. However, it's about to be disbanded. So they're going to find themselves without a good, collaborative tool. Mural is trying to get into the federal space, and they're working on that. They're working on getting it what's called FedRamped, and we can talk about that later if you want.
Okay.
I would like to.
Casey, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I work for MITRE. We're a big system engineering firm, and our main clients are the federal government. We use Mural, and we can use it for anything as long as it's not for official use only, or what they're calling CUI now, which is a controlled unclassified information. So we're allowed to use it with our clients, just not as long as it's not FOU or what they call CUI now.
Got it. So you can see clearly there's some of us that work with clients who does effects and some of us don't. So that's one of the limitations. Another lag time. This is rarely showed up for me because I'm not doing a lot of the big murals like design sprint boards with nested boards like I used to. But when I was, sometimes these boards will get laggy. And a lot of people say, oh, it's because you have so many people in it or the image is big. It's not, it has nothing to do with that. We finally got to the bottom of it. And it's literally the amount of items or elements on the mural. And Mural has said if it's more than like say 2,500 elements, stickies included, you might experience some lag time. So there's just that to keep in mind. If you're going to do big boards, you might consider breaking it up into part 1 and part 2. That's all. The other one, what if it all goes wrong? What if Mural crashes? What if it's got, everybody's having tech issues with it on the same day? There's something on the internet that, you never know when something's going to go wrong, and the tool just becomes something that doesn't work for whatever you're doing. A good fallback option is to just roll back, nominate a co-facilitator, assign a co-facilitator a support, share your screen if it's still working well for you, and just broadcast it to the group and say, if you want something added as a sticky, put it in chat. You might even use chat tags at that point and say sticky : so that your co-facilitator knows, oh, that's a sticky that needs to be added. And then if it all falls out, the bottom falls out completely, switch to something like Google Docs and just, either a Google Doc or a Google Slides or something and share your screen or PowerPoint. But yeah, I've never had any of that happen. I have had to just share my screen for the first half of a session, but then after lunch, somehow the internet fixed itself and everybody was able to get back in. So you just kind of gotta grit your teeth and bear it. Next thing here is just the final wrap up. Every client session I do, I provide something back to them called a visual summary, and that synthesizes the work we've done. So in any mural, you're going to create cool things like the storyboards you guys just did with your mini murals. There's going to be stickies to organize. You can see here on this spot, clean them up, make them the right size. There's tools in here. This one here is when you multi-select, you can resize all your stickies to the smallest one or to the largest one. You can arrange the stickies in a grid, a row, a line, a column, whatever. So just clean up those stickies in those brainstorm areas and make them readable so they're not on top of each other, all of those things, just like you would if you were photographing the work on the wall. And then what I do is I zoom in on these things and I take screenshots of the murals, because what I do is I create a deck. Here's an example of one. You can actually double click on this PDF here and see the full deck, but here are some screenshots. You can see I went into the mural and here created a screenshot of the Pirate Metrics model we were using for our sales system. I created a screenshot or a detail of the supports and challenges from the 5 Bold Steps vision canvas. And then here's the center, right? Here's what was flanked by the supports and challenges, the center of that 5 Bold Steps canvas from the Grove. So that got spread out throughout the deck, just as if I had taken my phone, gotten real close to the wall and taken a detail of a graphic record or the work. And then those details I include in the final visual summary for the client. So you can download your murals here. You can see as a PDF, you can download the whole thing. You can download sections of it. You can even download those stickies as a spreadsheet, paste them in to a Google Doc, or, you know, all of those things to create those final reports. If you have any other questions here, I know we're a minute after trying to stick this landing, and I know some of you need to go. And then final questions here. And I'm going to ask you all to give me a little eval here, a scale of 1 to 5. Did you find this workshop valuable? Drag one of these sticky dots onto the line based on 1 to 5. I can turn off the cursors so it can be as anonymous as possible, so I'm not seeing your vote. And then yeah, any questions, I'm happy to follow up after the workshop. So put your questions up here on the sticky and put your name on it if you want me to follow up asynchronously. I'd be glad to do that. I would just, you know, over here on the next steps, I would say, starting from the bottom, you know, if you want me to do that, drop your email in the chat and I'll follow up with you, or connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the link right there. Or you can double click that LinkedIn, that gold LinkedIn logo. That'll actually open up my LinkedIn profile and you can connect with me there. And the other thing, just to kind of, you know, keep connected with me, you can explore the library of mural templates on the Illustrious website by clicking on that. And I also have 3 books available on this subject. You can click on any of those 3 book covers to open up the page that allows you to go check those out and buy those. 2 minutes over time, Brian. Oh my God, it was so tight.
Well, that's okay. It probably had to do with my intro. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. But before I do that, everybody give Joran a Nova Scribes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Joran. That was awesome.